On the air, on your phone, and online, it's classic hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s on 1240 The Brew. 1240 KOKL, Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
SJ, welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Jeff Gados.
Darren DeLaune, Jeff Gados.
And setting in today with us as a special guest host.
I'm Arigon Starr, Hinks J, y'all.
Y'all, yeah. Must be the southern part of the nation.
And it.
Okay. We're going to kind of shift things from our focus on the heavy issues and the elections that are still active, so make sure y'all get out and vote and register and all that stuff. But today we're going to be sharing a special interview that Darren did with movie stars. And in our second portion of the program, we're going to be speaking with Arigon here about her new projects, see how her comic book's doing. And you've got a new play, right?
Yes, I do. And I'm excited to tell everybody about it because there's creeks in it.
Yeah, all right. Mvskoke movie. Yeah. Okay, well, I tell you what, we have this recorded piece that you did. When did you do this?
I did this last Friday. Last Thursday at Circle Cinema, they had that premiere on the movie Teata. Mm-hmm. It was about a Chickasaw woman who went by Teata, and she pretty much was a performer. She did a lot of performances on the on her Native American culture, but she also brought other cultures of other tribes into her performances as well. Very beautiful piece that was pretty much brought up from the ground up by the Chickasaw Nation. They had total creative control. And last Friday I got to interview Corianka Kilcher, who played Teata, Mackenzie Aston, who played her husband, and Tabitha Fair, who's also, she's related to Governor Anna Tubby right now, but she was also helped with the soundtrack for the movie Teata. So I got to be able to speak with them about the movie and about what their thoughts and their preparations for it. It was one of those times where you almost forgot that it was an interview. The conversation was that great.
Oh, yeah. Now, Ms. Kilcher has done a number of movies now that she's been noted for. And
I've told, there was one that pretty much brought her onto the stage was The New World. It was the one where she, portrayed Pocahontas, even though they never mentioned her name in that movie, or that name at all. She does portray that person. She's also been on one of my favorite films, short films. It was Running Deer, and then also she's been on some mainstream TV shows, Sons of Anarchy. She's been around. She's been around in the movie and the TV industry.
Have you ever crossed her trail ever again?
No, but we're friends on Facebook.
Okay, and she's not on those unconfirmed lists.
Yeah, great person. Very, very nice, very, very patient. I know she was very, very busy, but she did take the time to be able to speak with me. And then she also there were some people waiting for her. She said, "I'll come to you. I'll be able to talk to you. I promise." Like she made sure that she was able to speak with everybody that was there.
She cared.
Yes, she did. That was really that was really important to see that too.
Let's listen to this. Now, this is it's such a nice break when you get to talk to someone like this. So let's hear your conversation.
Okay, this is Darren DeLaune with Mvskoke Radio, and I'm here with a couple of stars with the movie Teata. Can you go ahead and introduce yourselves, please?
My name is Mackenzie Aston. I play Dr. Clyde Fisher.
And I'm Corianka Kilcher. I play Teata.
And I'm Tabitha Fair, and I'm singing the song Toward the Rising Sun for the film.
Tell me about, whenever y'all, heard about the film Teata, and were y'all, did y'all get, from y'all's agents, did y'all get, told about an audition, or how did this come about for y'all to get in place for this movie?
I actually give a big shout out to my friend Wombly Eagleman because he's the one that actually initially told me about the fact that they were making a movie about an amazing Native American storyteller named Teata. And I was like, oh my God, wow, this sounds amazing. Are they casting for it right now? So I went on the internet and I did some research on Teata, and I was blown away by, her career and her life. And I was so surprised at myself that I didn't know about her. And it made me that much more thrilled to know that they're making a movie about her, so people are actually going to know who Teata was. And so I got in contact with the director and had a meeting with him and met with Jeannie Barber as well. And thankfully the stars aligned, and I was blessed enough that the Chickasaw Nation also signed off on me, because I am not Chickasaw. I'm Quechua Huachipaita Indian from the highlands and jungles of South America, Peru. Yeah, it's my little story.
Matt, what about you?
I think it's my understanding that I was one of the last people cast, and so it came in, as an email with an appointment slip from the agents. It said Teata, and then there was a brief description of the film and the fact that it was being produced by the Chickasaw Nation, which immediately got me interested, because that's not something you see all the time
Right.
on an audition slip. And so the script was included, and I gave that well, first I looked at the audition scenes, because you always do that first to see, wow, how much do I have to memorize?
Mm-hmm.
And then I read the script, and then I started digging around for as much information as I could find. I hadn't heard of Teata or obviously Dr. Clyde Fisher before that email came in, and then I think I was able to learn a little bit from the internet. And then a couple of days later, I had the audition, and I remember it was a fairly early morning audition, and my wife, for whatever reason, came with me. I think she needed the car for something right afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And so looking back, it's kind of nice, because I like to think I have the sort of relationship with her that Clyde and Dr. Fisher have. We're buddies, and we really love each other. And she was so great to just wait in the car while I went in and had a read. And it was a good read. It was I could tell by the time I left the room that it was a good fit, or they felt it was a good fit in Los Angeles. And so at that point, I really sort of hunkered down and tried to learn as much as I could about Dr. Fisher, who it turns out was actually spent some time at Johns Hopkins University, which is a place that my grandfather also taught, almost around the same time as Dr. Fisher.
Wow.
And my dad went in the 50s, and I was accepted in the 90s but didn't go. And so immediately there was a connection right away to Dr. Fisher. And I started pinching myself in Los Angeles, and when I got to Oklahoma, I haven't stopped pinching myself. It's been a good experience.
That's all. One more question. This is for all y'all. Then I'm gonna come to you, Tabitha, about the music, about that towards the rising sun. But back in like when we see movies portraying Native Americans, we always see certain stereotypes back in the old days, like westerns and John Wayne and all that. But how does it feel being able to work on a movie that not only that portrays like very close to authentic as you can get, but also being backed by the Chickasaw Nation? How does that feel? And anyone, y'all three can answer, but how does that feel about that, being backed by the Chickasaw Nation? They're the ones that say, this is right, they have the control. How does that feel?
Koryanka here. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's empowering and amazing, and a wonderful blueprint for hopefully other tribes and nations to look at as an example and hopefully follow, because I think it's so important for us to start taking the initiative of telling our own stories and bringing them to life. And for me, it was especially exciting because it's a very strong female role, and Teata is such a role model. And just learning about her life and her career, and speaking to some relatives of hers and friends that knew her, she has become definitely a hero of mine and an idol and somebody that I personally look up to, and I think we need more strong, female women in film, in lead characters. But also it's nice to have a film where it's not a bunch of explosions and actions, but it's an actual family film, and you can go and it has a good message, and it plants the seed of knowledge, which is where I think it starts all discussions, and I think is important. So.
Same, Mac?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would echo everything that Koryanka just said, and my perspective obviously is a little different, on account of being a guy for starters, and also non-native, and looking back at the way Native people have been represented or stereotypically portrayed in films for a long time, that kind of misrepresentation, I think, did a whole lot of damage and sort of reinforced some ideas that were so far from the truth. And so the opportunity to work on a picture that is developed by the Chickasaw Nation and tells the truth of Teata's experience and of a Native experience is really, really, really a wonderful, wonderful thing for me to be a part of personally, and I feel honored to do so, and it's also incredibly important, I think, to sort of set the record straight, because I hesitate to say my people, but the European perspective has really been guilty of spreading a lot of false information and false representation. And so the fact that now there's an opportunity for the real story and the true stories to be told, and to be told just as well, and to be told from a place of wanting to educate people and entertain as well, it's just tremendous. And I'm grateful now that I was able to be a part of it, for sure, but more grateful that it's happening, so that the youngsters coming up now are not deluded by the stuff that used to come out, because there's still much work to be done. Yeah. I'm glad where we are, and I look forward to seeing more stories like this get out there, so people don't have to. Well, there's a lot of. I can't imagine what it's like to be a Native person, to see some of that old stuff, the John Wayne stuff, like those movies. That's like, it's just criminal, the way stuff used to be represented. Yeah. And I'm glad to see it change. It's important that it changes.
Yeah. I want to switch directions here. I'm going to go. Tabitha, you said there was a song in there, called, and could you tell the name of that song again?
Yeah, the song is called "Toward the Rising Sun."
Could you tell us about that song then, and the important role it played in the movie in Teata?
Well, it was kind of the soundtrack to the movie, and I was very honored to get the call to do it. And I'm Chickasaw Indian, and in fact, my uncle is the governor, Bill Anatubby.
Okay.
Just on a small side note.
Yeah, just on a side note. And I have to say, I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our tribe, because I think that, as we were just saying, it's so amazing that we're being represented by this film, Teata. She was such a strong, beautiful lady, and just her the way that she approached life was so positive and so beautiful, and the fact that she had a calling on her life, and I think it was a very important calling, and now we're getting to see just what that calling meant, and it was for, I think, the next generations to come, really. So and you did a phenomenal job, I have to say. You brought her spirit alive in the film. It was beautiful, and you as well. It was so great.
With how does one with a movie such as powerful as this, I mean, you had a powerful lead, but you also got a powerful actresses, and especially for the music too, but in Native American thing, how does one prepare for a role such as this one? You know, like how do y'all get ready? You got to forgive me. I'm just in the media. I have no clue on to do anything like this. So like, what does one do to get ready for a role that y'all had to portray in Teata? This answers. I mean, the answer.
I mean, there's so much that goes into this, because this, for me, was the most important thing for me doing in the filming of Teata, was to do the memory of her justice. And so in preparation, I read a bunch of literature and information that Jeannie Barber gave me. I worked closely with some of Teata's relatives and friends that shared some personal stories. So I got to have an understanding of who she just was in spirit on a day-to-day basis, which was so beautiful, to have a little insight into that. And then I reached out to a lot of my elders, my grandfather, my adoptive uncle, Earl Tooley, and Marilyn Help from the Navajo Reservation, Dene. And I very much like Teata, asked permission if I may use some of their songs and stories, because I was blessed enough to have a lot of artistic and creative freedom to actually create a lot of the stories and songs that are in the film, because they were like, in the script it would be written and then Teata performs. But there was no there was no other thing there, so I was like, okay, well, what am I going to perform? And so, you know, it was a real treat and a real journey of self-discovery on so many levels, and I was able to draw on my musical and dance background, which was so great because I love singing and I love dancing, and so to be able to incorporate that in my storytelling as an actress, I guess it was great to in a way create and show to the world a modern day version of Teata and carry that the spirit of what she represented in and her hope, you know, with her career of cross connecting and collaboration and you know, really breaking down those cultural barriers and reaching out and focusing on the things that binds us and connects us all as human beings, rather than looking at the things that divide us. So it was, anyway, there you go. I don't know. There's so much to be said about the preparation of it, and I couldn't have done it without every single person, all the wonderful extras that came out and were supportive and in the rain with us, and my co-stars Mac and Gil Birmingham and like everyone. I mean, it takes a village and it takes a family to create something really beautiful and truthful like this, and so it wasn't me. I was just supported by so many amazing people.
You know, with a movie like this, I mean, and from what I'm hearing, and I mean, not only like y'all might know each other from previous things, previous movie, previous film that y'all watched, but being able to work together, does it form a bond, like, or is there like for like later on films, like say, hey, I'm gonna be working with him again, I'm gonna be working with Mac, or I'm gonna be working with Koyanka again, like, is it to be able to get ready?
I think it absolutely does. Yeah. I think it absolutely does. We haven't had the opportunity to work together again yet, but I hope and wish that we do at some point in the future, which would be great. I think that happens a lot on plenty of productions where people get close, but this one, I don't know. I don't know if it's safe to speak for everybody, but this was particularly meaningful to a lot of people involved, obviously. And so I think that kind of strengthens that bond in a way. So, 20, 30 years from now, that'd be great to be working together again. Telling stories about, You know, working in Oklahoma back in 14.
Awesome. I mean, this is speaking with Koryanka, Mac, and Tabitha. We're gonna. I'm gonna ask, like, in the film, was there like a scene that maybe just like kind of like just sets out from the rest of the movie that maybe one that y'all liked, or whether it was you were in it or whether you were not in it, but was there like a certain part of this movie that y'all just liked?
Yeah.
For me personally, you know, there was a part that Teyana says, and it was it's not a crutch, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a to me it's a little statement, but that statement meant so much.
It means the world.
Yeah, it does mean the world, exactly. And but was there some scene that just stands out?
I mean, but to speak to that, because that's no small statement, and that's something that I actually always still carry with me, and I think about myself, because I do, as an actress in Hollywood, face sometimes a lot of the thing of like, I'm not white enough and I'm not native enough, although I am both. But it's sometimes it's easy to your differences where you feel like you could be pulled down by it, and can make you feel alienated, or you can own it and be like, you know what? Okay, great. I am unique, and this is beautiful, and I'm going to find a way to make this work. But anyway, to go to your question, because I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I just was actually speaking about it last night. One of the most profound moments for me, where it was extremely touching, and I felt so connected to Mother Earth and nature, and it was a very special moment. It's not too much in the film, sadly. I wish it would have actually been a bit longer in there, but maybe it'll be in the making of. But there is this scene where they have the stomp dancers, and we filmed that at like I don't know, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and it was so moving, and it was so powerful, and it was really, really it was I guess a spiritual experience for me, and then there's the flashback, and she remembers, Teata remembers when she's a little girl, and she sees that, and then she comes back to it years later, and it's all broken down, it's all gone, and just the imagery of that, and it was so sad for me filming that scene, and it really stood out to me, and really made me think about the importance of how important it is to continue to tell our stories and to pass on this wealth of information, because I mean, and I say this a lot, but I think it's so true. In order to have a clear understanding of your future and where you're going to go, you need to have a clear understanding of your history and your past and where you come from. And you know, and so that's why I think just storytelling in general is so important, and for me that visually represented it in the film, in that particular scene, because it can get lost and it can go away, and that would be that would be so sad. It would be lost to the world, because we have so many stories to share and to tell, and there's such wisdom in all the little stories. And there was a particular story, and I'm sorry to keep talking, but it's one story that Teata actually told, and it's called Birds of Spring, and it's in the film, and it spans over a few montages of her performing it in different places, and it's just such a sweet little story, but the message within those little stories, it's good, it's nice.
Leaves a lasting impact.
Yeah, it leaves a lasting impact, and I'm gonna be quiet now.
Matt, what about you?
I mean, it's, there's so many there's so many to pick. Anytime Teada's performing, or Koryanka was performing when we were filming, and I got to be close to the singing, and it was really, really special for me. Koryanka is such an incredible singer, and there's even something that I kind of ad-libbed in one of the scenes at the very, very start. We're crossing the street, and it's right before you have a vision up in New York, and I'm going on about listening to her sing, and I just was speaking sort of from my heart. There's sometimes, when people sing, you can kind of feel their voice in you, like the vibration makes your vocal cords vibrate, or part of you on the inside vibrate. And I got to be close enough to be moved by Koryanka singing a number of times, and that was just so fortunate. And I think, for moviegoers, if they got the volume up just loud enough, they'll have the same experience, which is pretty powerful. In terms of like particular things we shot that really stand out. I know one of the first days, there's a scene where Clyde is helping Teada with a performance at a camp that he helps direct, and he's pushing her off the shore in a canoe, and I kind of made a little decision in my head to like be goofy or whatever, but I didn't realize how far into the water I had gotten, and so I actually, what you see on film is me falling into the water and like, looking like a.
It was so beautiful,
looking like a goober.
It was so sweet.
It worked out. Just right.
It was.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It ended up being funnier than I anticipated it would be, because I went to because I got in deeper than I expected.
But she also did add that story on my end. When you pushed it, the canoe, it was not a very stable one. So the thing almost it almost like capsized, and I was in someone, they allowed me to wear their regalia.
Yeah.
Right. And I was so frightened one of the takes that I was gonna fall in the water.
Because I was pushing too hard. This is the first I've heard of this. I hadn't heard this before.
But it was wonderful, and it was great. It was beautiful moments, because there was some things that just really weren't planned. But I think that's why there's such an honesty and a truth in some of the scenes. And when I'm laughing in there at him, it's a true, honest laugh, because I didn't know this was gonna happen. Like all of that.
That was like one of the first days of work. Can you imagine if I turned you over in a canoe on day one and somebody's regalia? Oh my goodness, we got lucky. And we got it on film.
Tabitha, what about you? Was there some? I mean, because this movie is about your people. I mean, it is about your people, and is there something that just stands out for you in this movie?
Well, I think what stood out for me was, in the movie where she decided that she was going to pursue telling the story of her people rather than be an actress on Broadway. That's what I meant by her calling was, she chose to do that. And I mean, who does that really? I mean, if you have the choice to perform on a Broadway stage, if that's been your lifelong dream, and then you get there and you have the opportunity and you're like, I actually choose, basically home. I choose telling the story of my people. So for me, I mean, that stood out to me.
Yeah, well, about to wrap this up. What's next for Koryanka, Matt, Tabitha? Tell me, please. I mean, and everybody else wants to know as well. I mean, everybody else who was watched the movie or just know about you all in general. I mean, like, what's next? What are we going to be seeing y'all or hearing about?
I think. Yeah. Well, I do have another film coming out right now as well called Hostels, with Scott Cooper directing, and I get to reunite with my film husband from many years ago that from the New World, Christian Bale. So it was such a treat to get to
Batman himself.
Yes, Batman himself. No, but it was such a treat to be able to to work with him, because he was such a mentor to me on the set of The New World. I just turned 14 years old at the time when I was filming it, and he was always so kind and mentoring to me, and I never got a real opportunity to thank him for it. So it was great to work with him again and then pull him to the side and say, thank you so much. I was a baby on that, and thank you for being a guiding light to me on that. But anyway, so Hostels, and then I did just get back from living in Budapest for 6 months. I was filming a TV series called The Alienist out there that's going to be airing, I believe, this December on TNT, so everyone keep their eyes open for that, please. And then this beautiful film. It's finally getting released, and it's going to be New York, LA. It's here, Oklahoma. And then I have a few other projects that I'm in the works on right now. So, yeah.
Be on the lookout for you.
Yes, please.
Will do. Matt, what about you?
I keep getting lucky and getting work. There's a television show on the Sci-Fi Network called The Magicians that's going into its third season, and I keep popping up on there. I think I'm allowed to say that. If I'm not allowed to say that, you didn't hear me say that. I got real lucky and got a job on a show called Homeland, which is on Showtime. So I'll be working on that for a little bit. Comes out in their season 7, and I got to work this past summer with the Chickasaw Nation again on the Chickasaw Rancher. I play a very small part in their next film, The Chickasaw Rancher, which looks like it certainly will be different than Teata in plenty of ways, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun for folks as well. And I'm just, if you blink, you'll miss me, and that may not be such a bad thing.
So nobody blink when you watch it.
Don't blink at all, ladies and gentlemen. Tabitha, what about you?
Well, I actually have a new project, duo project that I'm working on with a friend back in Nashville. It's called TNT. And my friend's her nickname is Tori. So Tabitha and Tori. And so our music is, this is kind of how we describe it. Like if Bruno Mars had twin babies with Heart, that's kind of what our music is like, because it's like the power vocals with the throwback to Motown and to Muscle Shoals and that kind of thing. So it's like a combo platter of all those things. So anyhow, we're going back in the studio next week to cut 3 more songs, and we just wrote a great song with Desmond Child. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's actually going to produce it too. So we're really excited about that. But I have, you know how you just feel like this is it, and I feel like this is it. I feel like this is going to really happen. So.
Well, I want to thank you 3 very much for being able to. I know y'all's busy. I know y'all. Matter of fact, even though y'all's packing, getting ready to go, but taking that time to be able to speak with me about Teata, future projects and just everything getting ready. So
of course, and I just want to throw out there to anyone listening, just something my mom shared with me that has been a piece of advice I've always carried with me, and for anyone listening, she's always told me never be afraid to dream too big and unrealistic, because gravity's there and it'll take care of the rest. So I just wanted to leave all the listeners with that. If you have a dream, if you have something you believe in, you want to do, just follow your heart and go for it. So
Corey Anker Keisha, we got Kenzie Austin, Tabitha Fair. Thank you very much. This is Darren DeLaune with Mvskoke Radio.
Okay, Darren, sound like you had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, it was a great time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, you want those interviews to last longer, but unfortunately, due to they had to get somewhere, I had to get somewhere, had to end it.
Yeah, we have to get somewhere too. Let's take a short pause here for about a minute or two, and then we will be back with our special guest here, Arigon Starr, who's been sitting in with us and swapping lies and stories with us here in the background. So stay with us, please, here on Mvskoke Radio, here on 1240 The Brew.
Hello, this is Principal Chief James Floyd of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. The excitement of football is in the air, and the Nation supports all our local high school football teams and looks forward to all the excitement and action of Friday night. It's our prayer that all the athletes play hard and remain safe this 2017 football season. So from the Mvskoke Creek Nation, go team.
Welcome back to Mvskoke Radio. Arigon Starr has joined us here in the studio, and we've had a nice little chat about the busy schedule that you keep. How do you do it?
I just don't even know. Sometimes I don't know whether I'm coming or going or what the heck's going on, but here I am in Okmulgee with y'all.
Okay, for the benefit of our listeners who aren't familiar with you, maybe just a real quick capsule about who you are.
Sure. I am Creek and also Kickapoo. My dad was Kickapoo. In fact, my mother lives here in the Philip W. Kuhn housing. She's a local citizen, Ruth Wapakami from Belvin Baptist Church. You might have run across her. In any case, I'm here in Tulsa because of the Tulsa Artist Fellowship. I was awarded that fellowship this year, and I'm here through next year as well. And one of the things that I pitched myself on was to work on my comic books. I'm the creator, writer, author, artist, everything of Super Indian, the story of a boy who ate tainted commodity cheese and got superpowers. And I'm got 2 volumes out, and I'm working on volume 3. I also did a project called Tales of the Mighty Code Talkers, which again is about all of the code talkers, not just the Navajos. In fact, Creek people, Choctaws, Cherokees, Kiowa, etc., etc. And that book came out last year from Native Realities Press. And I'm also a musician. I've actually been on the stage of the Creek Nation Festival as well. I opened for John Anderson a few years back. That was a good gig. Yeah. And I've got 4 CDs out, singer, songwriter, producer, and I'm also a playwright. And I just do all kinds of stuff. And I want to make sure that the people out in the world, in Hollywood, and the non-Indians that, I see in Los Angeles all the time, know that we're still around and that we are funny, living people, that it's not a dead culture for the history books.
We would like to start with your comic book work. I know that's where I first met you, is when you were working on that. And on the cover of the magazine is this beautifully sculpted Indian guy with long flowing hair.
Yeah.
Which you don't see too often.
I know. It's a comic after all, isn't it? Oh, wait.
Well, the hair part you will see, but the beautiful sculpted body is a little harder to come by these days.
Yeah, Super Indian started as a radio series back in 2007 with Native Voices at the Autry in Los Angeles. I was back then working with them as an actor, and they decided, hey, shift over to writing because you're a songwriter. Take a try, see what happens. So I wrote a 10-part series about, again, Hubert Logan, janitor at the bingo hall by day, Super Indian when he needs to be, with his sidekick Mega Bear, who's a big old dude in pink purple tights, and and his talking intelligent dog named Dog, who also ate the cheese and has superpowers. And they fight villains like Wampum Bags and Blood Quantum, who's a vampire who is cursed by an Aztec shaman to become a full-blood Native American by biting other Indians.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
I know it's wrong.
Here's one, CDIB.
Exactly.
Okay. And
yes.
We have seen that, and I was intrigued by the thought that someone would be putting material like this out there. I mean, the comic book world is so full of people and material already. And how did you find a little niche for you, and what possessed you to do it, I guess?
Well, I have to say, I love the old Batman series with Adam West. And because I read comics as a kid, I mean, I soaked that stuff in. But the thing that I loved about the superheroes is that they could have fun, yet at the same time, there's other little things I can slip in there. Again, about Blood Quantum, because, people talk about who are more Indian than you are. And of course, this vampire becomes more Indian than anybody. And he goes to all these conferences and sort of, just like hooks up with natives, like you do. They.
Well, after the vampire attacks an Indian, could he lose his tribal membership because he no longer qualifies?
Exactly.
As a blood
This could happen. Or he just gets to work in Blood Quantum's call center.
Okay. Well, probably hitting close to home for a few people.
I think that Blood Quantum needs to have his own series too, Arigon. So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be great to see that too.
Cartoons.
Cartoons.
But
always.
what about the market? I mean, is it finding its place there? What's the reaction of other artists and people who are out there that you
Well,
run across?
what's really cool about Super Indian is that it's kind of reaching across the lines of just, a readership of Native people. I'm glad that that's my core audience. And again, that when I started doing research for this project to turn that radio series into a comic book, I went to all the Comic Cons that I could go to, and I asked people, I said, well, what do you think about this project? And the mainstream people told me, well, you know what? A, don't quit your day job, but also research your market, and your market is pretty niche. And I said, well, okay, that's fine. My market has always been niche as a musician and as an actor and as a playwright. So I knew my people, and I just knew that this was something that we did not have, especially as something light, funny, that families and kids could read together. So Super Indian came out of that, and I took those radio scripts that I had written and turned them into comic book scripts. Again, I had to learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of comics as a kid, Sergeant Rock and Terry and the Pirates. And
Yes.
one that I always enjoyed was called Turok, Son of Stone.
Oh, good God.
They were like an Indian warrior and his young sidekick, his Robin, so to speak. And they were stuck in the Stone Age fighting dinosaurs with bows and arrows.
Yeah, because that's where Indians obviously live
really?
and thrive.
Yes, yeah, we know Tyrannosaurus Rex so well.
I know.
But, I always jumped on it as soon as I saw a new one coming out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my folks wouldn't buy them for me, so I go sneak over to my buddy's house and read his.
Yeah, my grandfather, David Cornell, was my comic book connection. He used to take me to the TG&Y up in Tulsa when we would come visit to go buy comic books.
Yeah, and there's usually 2 or 3 kids staked out right at
Oh,
the
yeah,
little turnstile thing.
Yeah.
But that was all we had as far as Indian presence in that market. Now, you've obviously made your mark, but are there others out there? Are there other?
Yes, thank goodness I'm not the only one. I'm so happy. There's other artists out there like Jonathan Nelson, who's Navajo and does a comic book about a sheep named Jonesy, who shaves himself and takes his wool to the market because he needs a little cash. And there's others like Theo Zoe, who is Las Vegas Paiute, has Captain Paiute. And of course, locally, there's Roy Boney, who's done a number of different projects. He and Johnny Daikon, again, another Creek artist, I gathered all these folks together and we did that Tales of the Mighty Code Talkers. So we are out there. There's Beth Lepenze, who's Ojibwe up in Michigan, and Wishiot Alvitri in Los Angeles. And then one of our ringleaders is Lee Francis, who's Laguna Pueblo, who has a company called Native Realities Press. And he's the publisher of Tales of the Mighty Code Talkers. And I'm a self-publisher, so, this is the ultimate vanity press here with Super Indian. But hey, I'm happy to have the skills to put a book out and have it out on the market.
The impact, I think, first of all, does the storyline, the content, does that translate to the Stahekis? Do they get it? I mean, do they understand?
Surprisingly, yes. And I have found one of the biggest audiences are college professors who have brought my work to their classrooms. And that just kind of blows me away. I actually was a guest at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and that was mainly through their academic track. Of all places, I've been trying to get into that show for years. If you don't know, San Diego Comic-Con, hundreds of thousands of people come to this convention dressed to the nines, and all of the big, studios, Warner Brothers, HBO, everybody, they all come out and preview their new shows. And also DC and Marvel come out with their Jim Lee and all the rest of the gang come out and talk about comics. So to be in that venue, finally.
We're talking about the Super Bowl of comics.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, this is the place that you want to be and have people know that you're doing stuff.
Oh, and you went through an educational door to get in.
Yes, I did. I mean, hey, somebody left me an opening, and there I was.
The thought of that's kind of intriguing, that you could get in there and now do it. As I said, as part of my first question, do they get it? Do they understand the humor and gain the insight that you're sharing there?
Gary, that's what shocks me, because the woman who was doing the presentation on Super Indian was a Stagdy. She really read the whole, analyzed the comic book in a very, very scholarly way, and the audience were just chuckling along. I was like, oh my gosh, they're getting this whole commodity cheese thing and understanding, that's part of our experience.
That's great to hear. I mean, to be honest, you didn't have to change any way up to your writing or the drawing, the illustration, to be able to hit that or cross over to that audience, to the Hickey audience. You're able to do that, and they were able to understand. That's really, really good to hear, because we hear a lot of people sometimes that, if they say a joke, they're not going to be able to make a Hickey laugh or a Stelesti laugh, but just the Jotties, But now just hearing that, very, very awesome to hear about that. So just had to throw that in there.
The example being the tainted cheese.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big block of cheese.
I think that might have happened to them. If they're laughing about it, it's happened to them before in the past.
I'm going to check with food distribution and see if they've got any Super Indians over there.
Exactly.
Now, the name Roy Boney, isn't that the Cherokee guy?
That's my Cherokee friend, Roy Boney, scholar, a language expert,
right.
super duper fantastic artist, and a great writer as well.
I spoke with him when I worked there a short time at the immersion school.
Yes, and to have somebody, with that expertise to bring their language, like Johnny Daikon is a fluent Creek speaker and wrote a lot of the comic for the story of two Creek soldiers in World War II fighting the Japanese in Sitka, Alaska. Brought Creek language to this book. I was like, thank you.
I wonder what those Eskimo guys thought about when they heard it.
I wonder.
Yeah, they were, the Eskimo scouts were up there that saved some people's butts.
That's right.
Well, let's move on a little bit to some of your new work. You've got a new play come out, as you mentioned, Round Dance. Tell us that.
Yeah, Round Dance, I am so excited about this. This was part of the work that I pitched to the Tulsa Artist Fellowship. I arrived here in January, and by mid-February, I had a play written. And the show is a romantic comedy about a Creek family from Okmulgee who moves to Los Angeles in the 1950s as part of the government relocation program. Now, a lot of people like me have relatives that moved from here to LA and did that whole thing. Some stayed, some didn't. But I was always telling Gary earlier in the day, this is my anti-The Exiles. There's this movie out about Indians in Los Angeles that portrays as, no accounts, poverty, drunks, and everyone's hailing it as this fantastic art piece, and it's the real story of natives in Los Angeles. And I say no, holding up my hand around everybody who's within earshot. I'm holding up my hand. That's not how it all happened. That did happen to some people, but certainly not to my family. And the play actually was inspired by the film Marty with Ernest Borgnine.
I know that film, yeah.
Yeah, and again, Lovable Loser. This is one of the first movies that was ever about an underdog, about this guy never wins. He never wins, but this time he wins.
What do you want to do, Marty?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do? Before we get off on a different track there, though, that's... an interesting take on things, and I understand you're recruiting my buddy here.
Yes, I'm trying to get Daryl to come down and play the title character of Rudy, basically because Rudy's a World War II veteran, and we get to see his journey and how he deals with being in Los Angeles with all the different people and possibly starting his own business. It's an interesting story. And again, pulled from real life. These are things that I heard growing up in my family about, what Indians' own businesses in the 1950s. Yeah, it was hard, but they did, like gas stations and grocery stores and things like that. We were not all on Skid Row, Howlin' up on Hill X, which is now where Dodger Stadium is. They used to have 49s up there.
Oh, boy.
Back in
wow.
the day. That was real stuff. That was real.
That takes me instantly to my college days. Oh, gosh. The round dance, no, the title is intriguing there. It's not exactly a creek, but it's pan-tribal.
It's pan-tribal, which is my experience in Los Angeles. We get to meet a lot of different Indians in this play, not just the Creek family. There's a Ponca guy and a Potawatomi guy and some Kiowas and some Cherokees.
I mean, in L.A., sorry for interrupting, but you do have a lot of tribes and a lot of, whether it's missions.
Yeah.
When they're not recognized as
Mission
tribes, but
bands,
mission bands, yes. So
Yes.
you do have quite a bit there. So, yeah, it's kind of like how she has that title there. I mean, that does have a good reason for that, especially out there in L.A.
Yeah, exactly.
Glad
yeah.
you brought that up, because a lot of those tribes were nearly annihilated.
Oh, so true. Yeah, we talk about the Tongva, which again, I think they're state recognized, but not federally recognized. And sometimes some of our people have come into, Los Angeles and tried to hold powwows and make these restrictions about, well, if you're not federally recognized, you can't dance at this powwow because you're not really Indian. So again, we go back to this thing where we just undercut each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've run into situations where that's had me going in two different directions. You want the real thing there. I mean,
Yes.
But then you've got folks who well, one term we used to use were wannabes.
Yeah,
And,
and there are a lot of those as well.
and somehow there seem to be better addressed. Oh, I know more about the Lakotas than you do.
That's
well,
right.
Good. I'm Creek. I'm not Lakota. But they run into them from time to time, and it makes you.
I know.
I saw a powwow up in Alaska once, where this girl shows up in this little Pocahontas kind of
Oh,
thing,
gosh.
and starts going through this modern dance routine during an invitational. I'm thinking, what the heck are you doing, woman? Get
Oh, hey.
yeah, have the arena director toss around. Anyway, that's getting way off the subject. But as we look at some of the other things you've done, you've just kind of been amazing for the energy and things like that. Do you have much chance to stick around and keep your ties here to home and
Yes,
practice
I
whatever?
do. Yeah, and in fact, I'm sorry I missed the first Creek language class they had this week. I'm going to have to get back up on that because
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
I know. Well, you were there.
Oh,
my
well,
gosh.
this was the midday one.
Oh, the
for
midday
play.
one. Yeah, they're having one at the Tulsa Indian Center as well.
Yeah, it's
On
wonderful.
Monday night,
I'm
so-
still a beginner, folks. So.
I'm not even beginner. I try, but
Well, it's really an eye-opening experience to kind of say, oh, I remember that phrase, yeah, and then this is where it came from, this is what it meant, and how it got evolved and things like that. Well, anyway, let's get back to round dance now. I understand there's a reading coming up in Norman. Is that right?
Yes, it's part of the 25th annual Returning the Gift Festival. Returning the Gift is a literary festival where a lot of natives are coming from across the country, including people like Joy Harjo and Simon Ortiz, Leanne Howe, Tim Tingle, even our Oklahoma poet laureate Janetta Calhoun-Mish is coming. And in fact, Janetta Calhoun-Mish is the inspiration for this show because she told me about meeting the actor Ernest Borgnine and telling him my favorite film of yours was like, not Poseidon Adventure, Marty.
Marty.
And that's how this conversation started. I thought, what if we had Marty with Indians?
I know several candidates.
So Returning the Gift is happening October 8th through the 11th. The round dance reading is open to the public, and it's being held at the, what is this place called? The OCCE, the Thurman J. White Forum Building, and Monday at 7:30. So just come on down to Norman and join us, especially Creek people. Please come out. I really want to get your thoughts and feelings about the play that I've written and how I can make it better. Returning the Gift is going to be produced by the Oklahoma City Theater Company in April 2018. They're putting on a full production with lights, costumes, sound, the whole 9 yards.
All right. Let me ask you your opinion on a subject that is absolutely unrelated to anything we've just talked about. Monday, Tulsa's declaring Indigenous Day, Native American Day. And,
Yes.
I don't know what they're doing with Columbus Day anymore, but a long time coming. And Norman has also done it too.
Yes.
Oklahoma City was on the edge, but kind of fell off the wrong way. And a number of major metropolitan areas around the nation have done this.
Yes.
What do you think about something like that?
Well, I think it is a long time coming, and I'm really glad to see it happen. In fact, I was part of the group that went down and dressed up in regalia, did my whole thing, went down to Los Angeles City Hall and was part of the group that got that passed in Los Angeles. So I'm thinking that is the way the country needs to go, and I hope they come along with us. And remember that we're still here. That's my thing.
What about Oklahoma, though?
What
It
about
seemed
Oklahoma?
like it was kind of dragging its feet into.
Well, it's unfortunate that the view of Native people here in Oklahoma is not as advanced as it is in other places in the country. So I know that's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a show and discuss that. I think one of the factors is we don't have any reservations. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
people have intermixed, and folks you run into every day say, "Oh yeah, I'm part Indian," usually Cherokee or something like that.
Yes.
And I said, "Great, I'm glad to hear that."
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we're going to do. All right, now once again, let me get you to share the dates and times for the reading of your play.
Okay, that is at the Returning the Gift Festival in Norman, Oklahoma, on the campus of the University of Oklahoma. The dates for the festival are October 8th through the 11th. The staged reading is happening Monday, October 9th at 7:30. Please come, All Creek people, you are invited. We want you there.
And if someone wanted to obtain a copy of Super Indian?
They can buy one from my website, superindiancomics.com, or through Amazon.
Okay, well, that's great. Arigon Starr, it's been a delight to have you back again. It's so much fun to sit and chat with you for a long time.
Mado, I'm so happy to be here.
Inga. All right, well, we've got a few announcements we're going to run through real fast. You're welcome to join and read with us if you like.
Sure.
Okay, now we've got, let's see, Darren is back in the studio here, and we'll pass these out here. Most of them look pretty tasty. First of all, Jaeger Mission Methodist Church is having their fall annual gospel singing coming up on October the 14th, and that starts at 7 p.m. until whenever. So the MCs are Fred Lowe and Lena Johnson. Gospel groups are invited, concessions, so check it out. If you want more information, 405-221-0388.
And now, the Indian Taco Sale and Garage Sale, Friday, October 6, 2017, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Okmulgee Indian Community Center. $8 for dine-in or to-go, includes dessert and drinks, no deliveries. For more info, contact 918-759-7020. It's the fundraiser for the Big Cusseta United Methodist Church.
Be there.
How do you follow that?
Yeah, knock it off.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have In Her Shoes, October dates up for that, October 5th, October 10th, and October 17th. For more information, all these events are open to the public. For more information on that, contact the FVPP at 918-732-7979.
For all of you archery addicts, we've got Shoot of Nations coming up on October 21st, hosted by the, preservation folks. Yeah. Event schedule for that day is including primitive shoots, traditional shoots, and I'm not sure, but I'm imagining that's probably cornstalk shoots, lunch provided, and a blow dart tournament for kids. So check that out at the Mike Berry Hill Cultural Preservation Creek Nation Complex. And for more information, 918-759-8283. We got time for one more, I think.
October 15th through 18th, time 7 p.m., the Belvin Baptist Church is having its fall revival. That address is 320 North Mission, Okmulgee. And of course, our evangelist is Reverend Jordan Parnatcher. Come on down.
Be there. Okay, it's been fun, folks. We had a good time. Thank you, Arigon, for coming in and joining us and brightening up our announcement section for us. Gary Fife, Jeho Jeff Gados.
Darren DeLaune, Jeho Jeff Gados.
Okay, Mado Mabo Hedges, good. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.